So some of the great questions about Trump and his brand, okay, this is the first one. Is the original Trump still capable of leadership? So let's start there. And this came from the Digital Soldier. So I just thought they were a good lineup of questions because a lot of people are questioning right now. Okay, so is the original Trump, the actual guy, Trump, that they based this brand on, is he, in fact, still capable of leadership? Let's have a look. What? Well, that's looking pretty good. 3 of Cups there. And the Page of Pentacles. 3 of Cups and the Page. That's interesting. Well, it doesn't really feel yes, but that's a soft yes. Okay. And I don't think in the way they're playing it out that he is. Like, I don't think the way they're playing Trump out and the way they're using his brand, I don't think he would be. I feel like he'd far rather be relaxing. I feel like maybe he doesn't have that edge that the brand has. So the brand definitely has an edge and is like sharp and all over stuff and throwing curveballs and comms everywhere. And it's fascinating to watch. Okay. It is a fascinating theater of politics. And I believe they're doing it on purpose for a lot of reasons, but in particular to show you that politics has always been a theater. See, so this is what I've been maintaining with the cards and with the card readings I've been getting, that they've been doing that since the beginning of politics. And I feel like they're trying to show us that. Okay. And they being the White Hat Alliance with Trump as their brand. Okay. So I feel like the answer to it is, in a way, yes. But in another way, he's actually feeling like he wants to enjoy life more. So maybe he wouldn't want to be like lots of people. Think about it, 79. Maybe he's done sort of that hardcore politicking, and doesn't have the drive, maybe more. It's more like that. That's what even though I know he signed up for this, maybe he's wanting to enjoy life and his family more. Maybe he's wanting to have more enjoyment time, because this card wants to enjoy, right? And really, if he is exactly what his brand represents right now, he's not really probably having a lot of just chill out time. He's 24/7 on the texting, on the sharing posts from Truth Social, all of the stuff he does, right? So that's got to be 4 or 5 or even a whole group of people doing what appears to be what Trump does. Okay. Like, that's what I'm just trying to get across, right? So it's a soft yes. So it's not like he's incapable. It's more like he probably has things he wants to do other than that. Okay. And he did put his life on hold for a really long time and did do it. Okay. But I feel like in the last even 3 years, and this card's telling me 3, you've seen more of the brand than the real Trump. So that's interesting. So I don't think it's a no. It's more like a yeah, but you know what I mean? Yeah, but it's a yeah, but. Okay, let's see. What else do we have? Has he lost his mojo due to age or health? Okay, I wasn't getting that from that reading, but let's have a look. Let's just look around mojo health of the actual real guy, Trump. Mojo health. Sorry, having some technical problems. Mojo Health. 5. And I know a lot of you are going to say, well, there's med beds, but I got to be honest, the cards aren't absolutely sure about med beds. For years, people have been asking, and for years I've been getting, well, I think there's technology, but I don't literally get you climb in a bed Like I never really got that, right? Not directly. I didn't never got a direct yes on that I can remember. It's always more complicated, and there's just more like ways and modalities and healers and technology that could affect our health in a really positive way, but not necessarily jump in a med bed, get all fixed, and out you come like 20 years younger or 40 years younger. I never got that. I never got it quite like that. Okay, so here we've got the 5 of Pentacles here. So maybe a little less than usual. Okay, so like a 79-year-old, doing pretty good for a 79-year-old though. Definitely does a lot of healing practices. So probably eats well and has a regime that keeps him as healthy as he could be. Okay, but here we've got the Tower. This is how it's viewed and seen in the public. So now that's interesting. The Tower in the public. This is the past, the present, how people see him. So he's like throwing down all of these. So the Tower can be like a revelation card and shocking. He's a shocking revelation. Okay, but in reality, the real Trump keeps himself healthy and maybe does have the energy he used to, but in how it's viewed out there in the public, he's actually a force to be reckoned with. We got to think about this around the question that was asked. The question was asked, his mojo and his health, and this, the Tower, is like shocking revelations. Maybe he's maybe shocking that he even can do the things he does. But the other way you could read it, maybe they're going to pull a shocking health situation on him. Maybe they're gearing up for that as part of their theater or movie. I sure hope not, because that would hurt a lot of people's, people get really hurt around what happens to Trump here. But I feel like they might even have him decline suddenly, and that might even be how they exit him out of this theater. Interesting. So I'll keep that in mind. But the actual Trump here definitely looks like he's not as 100% as he was 20 years ago kind of thing, but he eats well, he does well. But these 2 5s tell me he has his setbacks and setback years. Okay, and or setback days. And here we've got the 7 and the Knight of Wands. Okay, so the 7, and that's why they use younger Trumps. Okay, I feel like they use the people they use for his brand are actually younger than him. Yeah, they don't use guys 79 years old for his brand. Okay, they're using guys probably 10 or 15 years younger than that. And maybe they put the makeup on, maybe they're wearing masks, however they do it, right? But the guys walking around as the brand of Trump, they're younger, and it's for a reason, right? Because naturally at 79, you're not like you were at 60. I mean, people will argue, and there's always going to be that exception. I mean, Cliff High is quite an exception, okay? But his regime, even by his own, admittance, Cliff High I'm talking about now, is a brutal regime of absolute structured, wellness protocol that he does to be in that shape he's in. And he died literally of cancer to motivate him to get to that place and restructure himself from ground up with herbs and, the guys, one in a million. Like there's few people that could do what he does. Okay, so let's have a look. Is he writing the script for the actors? I thought that was a really good question. Is he writing the script? Because there's definitely a script there. Okay. Soft, yes. So he has something to do with it. Okay. He's not the only writer, though. Soft, yes. He's not the only writer. This is interesting. In the past, we've got the 3 of Swords. The Three of Swords. I wonder if he writes less than he used to. I wonder if it's gotten maybe so convoluted or complicated that he had to give up some of the script writing. But there's two soft yeses in a row here, so some of it he does. He definitely does, and maybe he even does a lot of the how would Trump say this? How would he describe this? So the way the actors behave, and when they're maybe it has a lot to do with helping them express themselves in a Trump sort of fashion, especially with whatever it is, the words they're saying. But I feel like there's a lot of people involved, and that would make sense to the whole alliance white hat. And I always got the alliance actually really oversees a lot of even what the white hats do. So they're kind of above the white hats even, and then having Trump as their sort of front guy. And he has input, but he's not doing all the writing. Yeah, but he definitely has input, and especially some of the funny stuff. Okay, I feel like some of the humorous stuff and childlike stuff, that's Trump's part of it. So, the Gemini kind of quality comes through in some of the things he says. And a lot of Trump haters really hate it when he is sort of sarcastic and scathing and stuff. But I feel like he's actually got a really good sense of humor. Okay, so he writes some of it, but not all of it. Okay. Now let's ask the alliance white hats. Does the alliance method or procedure do they have a way that they're going to softly stop the show, or will it be more severe? Okay, so I don't think I read that word for word what was asked, but that's how I wrote it down. So let's go with that. Are they going to abruptly stop it? Let's say it like that, the show. Or are they going to do a soft exit? Let's have a look. How are they planning on weaning everybody off this show? Because it is literally like you get addicted to the theater of it. People are really addicted to the politics, right? And every time I look at political questions about literally what's going on in the political world, I almost always get, none of this is what it seems. Okay, so it's really frustrating for people that, okay, they just want to know what's happening. And it's like, well, it's deeply kept secret, a lot of what's happening, because we're literally in a war, and with even other dimensional beings and energies that maybe our like deep cult, dark cult, scary peoples that have been known as our governments in the past, and our leaders in every way, including religious, have been literally preying on us as a human race, defrauding us out of everything, including, well, financially, but everything, our health, everything. Okay, when you're up against that kind of enemy, I think it's fair to say in the war, everybody, you can't really just play nice. You actually have to, get them at their own game. I mean, that's what it looks like they're doing. And it seems like that is the way they're approaching it. But so what we're asking is, are they going to wean us off this show gently, or is it going to be an abrupt stop? Let's have a look. So we're already looking at new territory. So it looks like the end is in sight. I mean, what the universe means by that, right? Because universal energy and timing is very different than human energy and timing. Okay, so there's already a lot of freedoms we've gained back. We just don't know about it. That is likely the case. I've been getting that nonstop, where we don't even know that we've been freed from certain things, but they're still playing out this theater. Yeah, so that's sort of reiterating that. It says we've already had big breakthroughs, so we're already coming, like people that are really watching carefully, they're absolutely already on to, okay, this is a show and we're coming to the end of it soon here. Okay, now that's interesting. Eight of Swords. There's still going to be a lot of people, this is in the general population, who are in denial and absolutely refuse to even see that there's a show, even though a lot of people are already onto it. There's always that bunch. Maybe they're the NPCs, who knows? But these people just refuse to see it. Okay, so that's interesting. Now we've got that Ace and the Four. So this looks like they might have to, because of this bunch, they might have to get really definitive, and some of these secrets they might have to really spell out to these guys, okay, because they're not getting it the way we are. We're piecing things together and looking at it from the woo and with our intuitions and our gut instincts, and just just using our intellect and putting things together and thinking outside the box, thinking like this rebel gene. But then you got a whole bunch of people they're just going through the motions in life and absolutely staying stuck in. And for those, I feel like they might need to get really abrupt before this theater ends. They might have to spell it out. So to me, that feels like okay, that feels like it felt like the EBS to me, but then I pulled two clarifiers, and maybe where the abruptness comes from is where it'll have to be spelled out by Trump himself. Okay, and we have seen him do that, so he's definitely started doing that over the last, I'd say, in particular 6 months, but even the last year, but in the particular 6 months, where he's really nodded a lot towards Q posts, and the fact that very likely Q is a real thing. And of course, it gave us a lot of clues about what was going on. And he's even quoted things like talking about Obama, and then even asked in one of his, something he retweeted, I believe, he even asked, like, all roads lead to Obama. He started it, or that tweet started that way. And then it said, are you ready? Like, let us know if you're ready for secret or military tribunals. I'm not saying it word for word, but he actually mentions, first of all roads lead to Obama, which of course is everything this community would know. And then he mentions military, or it's mentioned in the tweet, military tribunals, and he actually retweeted that. So it's something he obviously is, aligning with. Okay, so he's already started, it looks like, but they're going to use him. I don't get that was talking about the EBS. So I'm not saying there won't be one, but I feel like it doesn't directly relate to that question. Okay, now, will it cause severe withdrawal? So what I think that was a continuation of the question, when the Alliance stops the movie, okay, will it cause severe withdrawal? So let's say it this way. When the movies clearly ended, okay, when it's obvious to everyone we were watching a lot of theater, especially in the political part of the world, okay, so, as far as I'm concerned, all of politics has been theater from the get-go. That's really what it's been telling us, okay? So the question is, will it cause severe withdrawal when we're no longer watching that political theater? Hang on. A card fell. Interesting. A sun card, which could be a yes. So we'll see where that comes up, and I'm going to shuffle that in, but that's interesting to know. Will a lot of people have severe withdrawal from it? Because the theater is pretty exciting. Some people are so done with it, though. And I got to tell you, I'm more done with it than I've ever been, right? Like, I'm a patient woman, but oh my goodness, could we use a really big helping of truth, real truth? Oh yeah, we so could. Okay, but I do think it will, but not only will it cause some people to feel like they need, they need the theater back. It's going to really, really make some people angry. That card's angry. When they find out they've been like watching this theater. And even though, in my opinion, all politics has been theater since the beginning of politics. So for that reason, it's not that offensive to me. It's just a truth. And I'm not offended by that. I'm just like fascinated that we didn't figure it out sooner, frankly. But some people will be really angry, you bet. Okay, so not so much. I think it's like a medium. Maybe some people will be severely affected and feel like they have withdrawal, but I don't think it's a hell yes. Okay, let's have a look at, let's see. Will the end of the show be announced, or will they gradually wean us off? Now that's similar to that other question, but a more specific, now it's honing in on the more specific, the more specific details. So that's good. That's a good way to handle card readings. Let's have a look. So how did it say? Will the end of the show be announced? Let's start there. Will it be announced? It looked like with that Ace of Swords. Okay, we've got the Star and okay. And this is actually answering the next one, which is there another event that alters our consciousness so the show becomes a non-issue? Throw that one in there with this, because now I've got, actually, it looks like there's going to be some kind of a show of otherworldly, other dimensional beings. But notice that this isn't the magician, so I don't think it's, unless the magician shows up underneath this one, and we'll have to see in a minute here. But before I say it, I'll wait and see. No, real aliens, real other dimensionals. Okay, so something will come along and take us, get everybody's attention and move us over. So the show isn't announced that, okay, we're ending the movie. We were watching a movie. No, I feel like we do get, zigzagged into another big event, and it'll take time to swing back over to and get back in, get the public back looking at the fact that they were watching a theater. That'll come later, but people will figure that out. But I feel like first there's going to be some big go down with other dimensional beings. So kind of answers 2 in 1 there. Okay, and now I'm going to change topics a little, because everybody's probably wondering about what the heck really did go down when Trump and Putin met in Alaska. Okay, so what, and there's another, look at this Trump. That is not the same as any of the other ones we showed you. Is that even, like, this guy's a totally different Trump. Okay, just to remind everybody, we got a brand here. We got a Trump brand. He just wears the suits, the right colors. But that guy, even the side view of him, that's not Trump's face. Okay, so even if he's wearing a mask, his underneath structure gives it away. We don't have real Trump there. Okay, there's no way. Okay, so just to realize, okay, it is wild times we're living through, guys. Okay, so what the heck were they doing? Trump and Putin. So by all appearances and according to the news, okay, he was brokering this peace deal, which, by the way, if you're new on my channel, you might not know this, but I believe Ukraine war was settled a long time ago, and nothing about how they are presenting it is truthful. Okay, the real issue is Ukraine was being used as a huge human trafficking, organ smuggling, or organ theft, taking organs out of people, lots of underground tunneling, and money laundering for the deep state, in particular deep state governments, in particular the US deep state governments, okay, which was why Biden and his whole family were really involved in the Ukraine. And it was really about that. And also there was a lot of bio labs there. So they were making and messing around with and doing all kinds of experimental things there. potentially even creating, future pandemic type materials. Okay, so that's that really was why it was getting cleaned up by Putin. Okay, and by the way, Putin, and I know I've mentioned this before, that's not the real Putin. Okay, so that's a deep dive you need to do on your own time if you don't know what I'm talking about there. But Putin was replaced with Alliance / White Hat Putin about 11, 12 years ago. Okay, so maybe even 13 years ago by now. So now, what the heck were they really doing there? Like, what was going on in Alaska? Were they even in Alaska, or was that big theater? So it does look like they were doing something. 2 6s that even they could have even been celebrating. So it was a show of celebration. So it's like they got a certain place in the war. Something ended that they were trying to end for a really long time, even though the news said it was, he's trying to end the war and broker this peace deal. I don't think that's what it was about. I feel like something else was going on, and they conquered something else, and they could have even been celebrating and then planning. So celebrating and planning. So I don't think it was about brokering a peace deal at all, although that's how others will see it. Okay, so that's how this is the general population, and this is actually what's going on. Okay, so they went through something really difficult in the war. So this had something to do with the war that's actually being fought, and that's been going on for a really long time against the deep state and the dark cult and all of their upper echelon of off-worlders or other dimensionals. I'm not sure what to call them, but non-human entities that really have been enslaving and then left some of their, I think, mixed DNA, creating like Rothschilds and some of those Illuminati families, okay, the bloodline families that literally have been enslaving humanity, right, for as long as even the memory of humanity, even as long as we have the memory of, right? So it's because we know that history was all made up and misconstrued by that bunch. Okay, yeah. So these off-worlders or these energetic, they're dimensionals, whatever they are, they literally left behind maybe some of their hybrids to do their dirty work, taught them how to make adrenochrome, taught them how to harvest humanity, loosh. And they've been doing it ever since. Okay. And so their plan's taken a really long time. And I feel like that war against that bunch, okay, had a big victory, and they were making plans to go on further, or so what was really going on wasn't anything to do with what they were saying it was. Okay. So that makes sense. Now, the last thing I want to look at is the fact that Zelensky supposedly is in actually the White House today, or was, and wore himself a T-shirt into the White House even after Trump specifically supposedly told him wear a suit. Okay, he actually purposely wore a T-shirt, even less formal than usual. Usually he has long sleeves, at least in some kind of a sweatshirt. But this time he just shows himself up. But we know this guy's an actor. If you're new on the channel and you don't know anything about Zelensky, go look him up. He's literally from a really popular, which could have been a planted show, by the way, okay, because I think they've been planning this for a long time. But he's from a really popular kind of really campy show, okay, where he dances dressed as a woman or does belly dancing and wearing heels. And like he's clearly absolutely not a politician. Okay. He's an actor. Okay. Anyway, yeah, so many obvious comms, guys, but what the heck was he doing showing up? Like, what was that? Of course, we know he's, like on the surface, it appears that, and to the general population, he's not playing ball with Trump and Putin, right? Of course, he's not going to sign any deals. Okay, but meanwhile, it's pretty obvious here. Okay, so the end of them. Okay, so it's signaling the end of this guy, where I think they're going to exit this guy, and it has something to do with what Trump and Putin were celebrating in Alaska. Okay, yeah, they're going to exit the actor, and it somehow seems to line up politically with a new financial sort of, they're bringing something financial in and ending that guy. Okay, so there's something financial going on, but it ends the need for Zelensky. So maybe they're just having one more laugh at his expense. And if you look at this picture that's about to go up, you will see why I'm saying maybe they're going to have a laugh at his expense, because they're always having laughs at his expense. And if he was a real serious politician, he'd never allow these, like they would be screaming about this. These guys are all actors and they're in on this. Like they posed and they allowed this to be altered. Obviously it's altered with CGI or whatever, but they know this. They all know this. These guys are all in on this. Okay, these are capitulated and or actors, and their brands are the actual person behind the brand have capitulated. And that's a great big fly, by the way. It's not a fairy. It's a great big fly. Anyway, they've capitulated and a long time ago, I believe. And they are now doing the walk of shame. And that was a clear sign of the walk of shame. Anyway, thank you so much, everybody. And the fly wants to thank you too. That's a blooper. Okay, thanks again. And sending everybody ravens. Bye-bye. Probably why a lot of people think he's going to use that opportunity to do his maybe address to the nation. Okay, but if anyone can find info on that date, and will he actually be addressing the nation? Because I haven't seen an official report about that, just rumors in the community. So we're asking, will he, according to the cards, address the nation on March 4th? In a really official way. That's how I'm going to say it. So that card it could be about being very specific here. Interesting. We've got that Empress, which often, when we talk about Trump, often comes up. Now, I believe he fronts the alliance and also the white hat. So that's interesting that the Empress comes up around. Fascinating. And when I did a deep dive on him with Jean-Claude some time ago, and I've talked about that video a lot, we got in his whole family. Well, he was adopted into the family. He was interplaced in that family, and those the Trump parents. That's not his actual parentage. He was adopted. And we got that he was a hybrid, and he was created actually for the role he's now playing. And interesting that we do get cards that look like it wouldn't be like, this could be like even like a divine feminine card. So it's quite interesting that he does get this card a lot, right? It's absolutely fascinating. But this card could be about an address of some kind, okay? But maybe with this card in the middle, not exactly what we expect, because that card steps away from your expectations to some degree, okay? So right now it looks like you're not seeing it in mainstream, but then we've got the outcome of the question is the 9 of Cups, which is a wish come true. Now we've got a yes over here and a 5. I feel like there will be an address of some kind on March 5th, or sorry, 4th. Yeah, on the 4th, sorry. Okay, I got to keep my dates straight here. On March 4th, there will be an address, and people will be anticipating what he says. He will address it, but I feel like it'll underwhelm people. 2 5s in the reading. Okay, so I don't think they're going to use that date to really do a huge, like, I don't think he'll have his main address. Okay, so I don't think he addresses the nation daily practically. Okay, as you guys know, he's all over always addressing. Okay, but I don't think it'll be what people are anticipating. So there is an address there, but this 5 says, and that 5 says there could be underwhelming. It could underwhelm your expectations. So I don't think it'll be the big address that everybody's expecting and what they were putting out on social media about it. Okay, where he's basically going to out everything. So he does address the nation, but then he does regularly. So it's not going to be the address that we're waiting for. Okay, let's look at, will Trump declare a national emergency in light of rampant criminal activity ingrained in the government? So all of that discovery in the last couple of weeks here with Elon Musk heading Doge, DOGE, okay, and them really digging into all the expenditures that the government have been, fudging, fraudulent, all kinds of money going to other countries, and then probably circling back to the Democrats and or individuals fraudulently receiving the monies, but it's not going where they said it was going. All the kinds of things they've been discovering. It's just been absolutely a shit show, really has, of discoveries. And of course, it's nothing we didn't know. Okay, this community knew that was going to happen. And also they've been, for the last 4 years, I'm sure, and maybe longer, already known this. And they've been already digging into this. They had all this information. They didn't just come up with this in the last, 2 or 3 weeks. They had all of this. They couldn't do the kind of audits they've been doing. They couldn't do them as fast as you're seeing it done. Okay, this was already pre-planned, and they had all of this. They had all the information, and while they were at the pretendency of Biden was roaming around, stumbling around doing the silly things he was doing and keeping everybody occupied, these guys were busy putting all of this together so they could just boom, 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 right out of the gate show you all of this information. So we're asking, because it looks like he has enough to declare an emergency, a national emergency on the kind of stuff. So it would basically mean that the government's absolutely treasonous and fraudulent. Okay, it makes sense that he could. And it would be a great time to maybe throw on the EBS for everybody, maybe educate everybody on. Let's have a look at if that happens. Does he declare a state of emergency? So that's something they're looking at. Okay, so this 2 says, I don't think it's out of the question. And then the tower, they also know it would be pretty disruptive. Okay, creating a national emergency over the fraudulent behavior of the government looks like it's something they're considering, but it would be very disruptive. So they've got to be sure they want to do that. Now, this is what the public will actually see. So we've got the sun, the 10. So the sun looks more financial. Okay, so I think before they would do that. So it's something they consider, but I don't necessarily get a yes on it. Okay, I feel like they're going to maybe, there's bigger things they're going to announce before they do in a national emergency. And it might take away from the big things they're going to announce. And this feels like financially, or something about gold, or the truth about gold, or maybe a gold-backed financial system, or a new, money currency backed in gold, looks more front-lining. And they feel like they've looked at the idea of a national emergency. They certainly have, reason to, but they feel like it might be too disruptive. So they may not do that. I'm not seeing a yes on that. I'm seeing it more like, actually, they got different things they want to bring out first. And this is in their back pocket if they need to. I feel like it's not really front and center what they want to do. Okay, they want to be more careful with things like national emergencies because it would wreak such havoc here. And we've got the 2. So yeah, I feel like they're going to do different things and talk about different things. before they do any national emergencies. They got other things they want to do first, and ending some of the facades. So more disclosure and ending facades, less about shutting down the whole country in a national emergency. Okay, so that's a no on will they be doing that sort of real soon here. I'd say no. Okay, now, will Trump directly name those who were involved in the criminal activities? So they've been busy talking about all this money loss, money laundering schemes, and horrific things like all of these politicians whose actual worth is so much more than what they've been paid. And so none of it makes sense. Okay, how do they have that much money? Okay, that's been outed and outed and outed. And what somebody was asking there was, will Trump directly name those who were involved in the criminal activities that created all of this information that came out with the Doge, investigation, basically? Let's have a look. So will we actually get Trump naming names? And we're talking soon here. When I'm asking, I'm talking in the next few months on all of these questions. Okay, because it should be days, should be hours actually. This stuff's current, and it would be a good time to deal with it, right? So we've got the magician here. So there's a whole lot of, but like I said, a lot of what you're watching that appears to be them, oh, they just discovered this, and oh, now they discovered that. They know all of this stuff. They know what's in Fort Knox. They know what they're going to show you, what's in Fort Knox, or not going to show you. All of this is part of the theater. So we have the theater of politics fully engaged right now. A lot of what you're seeing is theater. Here we've got the 6. So we've got the 6 of Wands. So they're quite happy with how it's going. I think eventually they will, but they're going to wait on it. They're going to wait on it. 2 wait cards around it, but I feel like a yes with Major Arcana being the first one down. Okay, but there's 2 waiting cards, and we've got the Devil here and the Moon card. So the Devil, interesting. So the bad players, a lot of them aren't even around anymore. That card's, there's a death around it. They don't have them. Like, of course, they could name them, even though they're rounded up. But the cards like to be specific about these things. And they're saying, actually, a lot of these baddies aren't even on the earth plane anymore. Okay, so how do you like that? So we've got the 9 of, I feel like they want to continue outing things, but not necessarily naming names just yet. I have no idea why that is. I feel like they will eventually, but they've got other agendas and things they want to roll out first. So I'm thinking they'll push that down the road, and they won't be naming them, say, in the next week or 2 or 3. Yeah, I'm getting they're going to wait on it. 2 waiting cards say they got other things they want to do. And I feel like their order of things has a lot to do with, what the military, they got all these military plays going on. And when you got that going on, I feel like they have a system they have to kind of stay with. And they're not gonna just out of the blue tell us everything. That feels obvious, actually. It's unfortunate, but they got a reason why they're layering the information, it feels like. And I feel like eventually we will see that why they did it and that it's a good thing, but it is frustrating to watch. Okay, so now we've got, will Trump bring the Epstein list himself? That was a good question. I thought that was a good question, because we know that Kash Patel is likely who's going to bring it, but this question was specifically, will Trump out the Epstein list? And that is interesting. Personally, I think it'd be a good play if they had him outing, and even like going on record naming names. I think that'd be great. But will they? Is that something they're going to do? Is Trump actually going to bring out that list? And then we'll ask, when does the list come out, unless it's in this layout here. So there we've got that. Like, of course, he's known who's on that list for a really long time. And yeah, we're out of time on that. Like it's overdue. That card's like, it's overdue, dudes. Let's do this. Okay. And there's that's interesting. That's a Trump card. I think he'll go over it and talk about it after it's out. I don't think he'll literally be outing it, but once it's out, I feel like he'll address it and talk about it. These two are Trump cards. I feel like he'll let it come out first, and then he might go through the list with us or talk about it. You know how he does in his rallies and when you see him in public? He does go over things and, rehash things. I feel like he might do that, but he's not going to actually be the first one you hear who's on that list from. Okay, now let's ask, when the heck does that list, when do we actually, because we keep getting all of these indicators that it's coming. Okay, is that going to happen this week? That's my question. Is the Epstein list going to happen between now and Friday night? Friday night Eastern, 5 o'clock Eastern. Like by then it should be out. Okay, but let's have a look. If it's really, it's a big deal and everybody wants to hear it. Everybody's been yelling about it. Let's see if that actually happens in the next week till 5 o'clock Friday Eastern time. Are we going to see the Epstein list for reals? Oh, we got the sun. So that's looking very promising there. Like, yeah, it looks like the plan anyway here. This looks like that is the plan. And it has taken a long time. Like it's this stuff we've been waiting. Oh, look at these two major arcanas. I got a feeling we will see it. I got a feeling we'll see it, but it might be bumping right up to Friday. Okay, so I think a yes, but not, I think a yes. And so this is, I wonder if we don't see the whole list. I wonder if we see a partial list. So yes, by Friday, but this is this is like a tidbit. I don't know if we see the whole list because then the outcome is we don't have quite enough. I wonder if we see a partial list and not the whole list. I wonder if we start to see the list this week, but not the whole list. I don't know why they'd break it up, but there could be a lot of details too. Maybe there's like different sort of areas to the list, like who went there on what. Like there's lots of ways to get to Epstein Island, by the way. I shared a video about that. There's lots of ways to get there. You could have even gone like they had a submarine. And by the way, Ghislaine Maxwell has her she's operates submarines. Okay, she has the ability to operate submarines, and there was a submarine that went there. I wonder if we just get the beginning of or the tip of the iceberg of the list and not the whole actual, because there's something lacking here. Or it takes a little longer after Friday, but we're at the beginning of it. So we get a glimpse of the list, but maybe we don't get the full list. Maybe there's still some redacted names on the list. That could be another way they do it. Okay, but we're starting to see the list this week anyway. So that's, I'm okay with that. Just let's get started here. Let's get going here. Okay, what else do we have? Let's see. Will cash, actual money, physical cash, become obsolete? Lots of talk about, digital currencies, digital ways of dealing with money. I personally think that would be a really bad idea to take cash right off. And let's say in the next 5 years, will cash become obsolete in the next 5 years? Let's do that, because you got to give a time frame. I mean, eventually it will, probably, in our lifetime, it might. Okay, so with cards, you should always give it a time frame. In the next 5 years, will cash become obsolete? I mean, it is already, there's a lot of places already telling you can't use cash. Okay, so we've got that Judgment card in the past, but there's no major arcana in this row. Okay, so that's interesting. We've got the 9. I'd say it becomes in the next 5 years where it's 70% you're not seeing it. But I would say no. I would say they're going to keep it around for another, say, add 4 years to that. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'd say you got at least another 8 or 9 years where you'll actually have some forms of cash still existing. Okay, and that actually makes me happy, because what about all the people that panhandle? What about all the people who, only use cash because they don't trust systems? Like, there's so many ways. I feel cash should stick around. I really do. Anyway, it does look like it will stick around past that 5-year mark. But it'll largely be replaced by very unique systems. But this card in the middle says a lot of the ways we deal in finance, we're going in the direction of independent from government overreach into your, like, I don't think the banking system will be anywhere near what it's been, and the amount of government input or never mind a gangster banker input, like, never mind, like, although I lump the governments in with all the gangsters, do you know what I mean? But this card says we'll be more sovereign in the way we handle finances, but money will start to go even within 8 or 9 years. And then who knows what's happening by then? We could be really in sci-fi world and we won't need cash. Well, it'll be a whole different thing. Okay, but yeah, it seems like it'll be, dwindling and getting smaller in our use of it, but not all the way out. Even in 5 years, it'll still be around for another 4 after that, it looks like. Okay, so will AI, so apparently Jay Widener said on the Wacky Woo, and I haven't watched all of the Wacky Woo show from Sunday night. I always like to catch up, but I haven't had a chance to watch the whole thing. But people were asking, on my website there, under my question, what do you guys want to talk about today? A lot of people wanted to know. Jay Widener mentioned that AI was going to replace most administrative jobs. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments if I got that wrong. This is what the questions were. Several questions about this. In particular, government administrative jobs. So when you think about it, I feel like a lot of what Doge uncovered was, I feel like a lot of jobs are already run by AI. I feel like that was one of the things we were discovering, okay, is that a lot of jobs to do with the Fed were run by AI. I think that was being actually discovered with a lot of the information that's been coming out in the last couple of weeks. But what Jay Widener says is AI is going to replace most of the administrative jobs, in particular in the government. And he even went on to say, in particular, the jobs women do, which I found interesting that he would say that. But anyway, let's have a look. Is that true, what he's saying? So the Two of Pentacles. So some of that's true. Some of what he's saying is true. We've got the Sun. So some of them will be replaced. Yeah. The Sun. 10. Wow. I'd say in the next 10 years, a lot of but maybe not in the next year and maybe not in the next 5, but within 10 years. And I feel like there'll be a lot more interesting things for people to put their energy into. More abundance is abounding. So I don't feel like it'll be a bad thing, even though right now you might think, oh my goodness, in 10 years, we won't have administrative jobs. I feel like you'll be glad we don't, because we'll have a lot more things to put our energy into. You're in a whole different world, it looks like. You won't want to be doing those jobs. I feel like those jobs will be taken over by AI. Yeah, I do think, but it'll take about 10 years. So I don't think it'll happen overnight or even next year. I feel like in the next 10 years, absolutely. And we will definitely be, there's other things taking up our time. So I don't think we can even visualize, because it'll be so different. This card says we'll be in such a different world that it's not a bad thing. All of these cards are telling me it's not going to be a bad thing, even though when you hear it, when you first hear it, you freak out and go, oh my goodness, I like my administrative job. I feel like this will be a comfortable thing for humanity, and it won't be like AI taking over the world. That's not the cards I'm seeing here. I'm seeing that it'll be a good thing. You'll be glad of it, and you'll have much cooler things to be putting your energy into. So kind of a yes on that, and maybe not in a short time, like over the next 10 years. Now, there's one last thing I wanted to look at here. I got a little time left for this. According to Dick Elgar, Future Forecasting, that group, he's been getting lately that the U.S. land mass will change dramatically, and in particular, losses of land will happen, and it sounds like because of water events. Okay, so this is what was being asked in the questions. Is that true? And it'll happen in 2026, between 2026 and 2028. And, we've been hearing about huge tidal waves taking out land mass in North America for a really long time. Okay, so not that new. I've been hearing that, and we didn't always have a date on when that was going to happen, but lots of psychics and intuitive people have picked up on that. Is that still the case? So 2026, between 2026 and 2028, are we going to see big land mass loss in the US and let's say West Coast of Canada as well, because that usually gets lumped into those areas. So we'll ask that. So we got a yes around it. Okay, maybe less than what's been talked about. So the 5 takes it down. So we got 2 5s. So let's take it down a notch. Maybe how they said it might be exaggerated with that card. It's like, some changes will happen that creates it to be less than what's been talked about. Okay, so there's still a big chance. That that could be changed is how I'm going to read that. So it's a yes, potentially. Okay. But see that Magician, it's up in the air, and there could be things we could be saying and doing energetically and putting our energy towards that could help this not happen. So a lot of the things we're saying and doing and how we believe and what we're trusting right now could really change this a lot. So I feel like if we don't glom onto that and get fearful and focus on it, and then even after that, take it down. Like, yes, some land loss. Yes, I feel like there's 2 aces in there. There's going to be some. Okay, but these 5s and even that 4 in Magician says there's still a lot of opportunity to change the outcome on that. So I feel like if we don't just sit around deciding that's going to be the case and being fearful and then resigning to it, I feel like let's stay optimistic and positive thinking towards that energy. And that could still change it a lot for the better. Okay, everybody. I'll try to look at some other countries here on my Wednesday. I know I didn't get around to any other countries today, but really, I feel like this is a big Trump week. Okay, you guys know, with everything that's going on in the US, we had to really keep a good eye on this. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching the video. Thanks, Coco, for helping me do this video. And don't forget, guys, keep an eye open for this at the conference if you're coming. Really cool little, like when I found out these guys make it and they're really close to me, Prince Rupert, look on a map. It's where you take the ferry from the Hideaway. You go to Rupert, and then you're on the mainland and you can travel from there. If you're, say, going, driving, you can take a ferry boat. Okay, some people thought I meant a ferry, like with wings, a ferry. No, a ferry boat. You can take a ferry boat to the mainland, and the place you would land is Prince Rupert. Okay, and that's where this group is from. So the fact that it's Canadian made, Indigenous made, and it's protective spiritually, I just felt like, what a cool thing. I got to bring some. Okay, thanks everybody. Bye bye. So this is about the one in Ontario that flipped right over. So we're moving into new territory. This is interesting because we got a soft yes on, do we have fakery? And we've got an Ace of Swords in the past. So actually, this one could have been filmed in the past. And we've got, for the general public, something creative. So maybe having the people all coming out of it, that could have been a creative process. I feel like we got some fakery here. I asked, is there fakery? That was the first way that I put it. Okay, and we've got a bunch of aces here. And this ace in the past is kind of interesting. So what does that mean? Well, the fakery was done in the past. They filmed it a different time. Okay, so this actually stopped traffic, and they utilized this to ground planes and reroute people. Okay, that's suspicious. Maybe they had something they needed to do. The war is going on. You know, we don't always see it out in front, right? There's a spiritual, there's a psyop war going on. There's an information war going on. There's the dark hats, white hat war. You know what I'm talking about? Alliance. They're fighting the deep state. I got a feeling that this was faked, and it's because they needed to creatively stop air traffic and or reroute something. Something needed to get, something that happened because of this got rerouted, and or things got had to get all recreated or whatever. And they used this. Okay, so I'm feeling like they used this, and things could have been a lot worse if they hadn't done this. So those that are grumpy, that if they got stuck in that rerouting, and I know even our Jens got stuck in that apparently. Okay, he got rerouted with his plane, Meg was telling me. And of course, it must have been really frustrating. But I got a feeling something could have been a lot worse. There was something they were trying to bystep here. Something could have been a lot worse. So now this feels like this was individually created. Okay, so they created this because they needed something rerouted, and or they needed to cover their tracks on something they were doing. So a white hat alliance activity, they needed to cover their, and I don't know which part of I'm asking here, well, what exactly? Okay, so we've got the 9. I don't think it's quite time to know the full truth about it. Okay, I feel like whatever it was, it would have been hard on, or some woo people, some good people that are on our side, let's say, on the side of for humanity, would have been hurt or badly hurt, this looks like. So they had to do this. They had to create this drama to actually get something not to happen. Okay, so that's interesting, because kind of the same thing was happening on the DC situation. The DC situation looked like they were stopping. So they'd heard about a situation or an activity that was happening, and the plane was carrying something to create that. So an ingredient, do you remember? I got an ingredient was on the plane, and they needed to, and the ingredient, when added to some other ingredients, would have been a lethal thing for a lot of people. So they took out the plane because it was carrying something on it that would have been dangerous, or somehow deep state was going to use it against people. And this feels like a similar situation. So this is part of the war, I'm thinking. Wow. And it feels like the target was woo people and or people that are doing good for humanity. So that's that's a big part of our community, are those people. There's like Tucker Carlson's part of that. The guy, like all the actors playing some of the good politicians, or people trying to be like they're playing good parts, like Elon Musk right now, even though he might have been originally brought up in a satanic family and maybe not a good guy. It feels like whoever's playing him right now, they've gave him a part in the White Hat operation that is for the good. I don't know who exactly they mean here, but it really looks interesting. So that was a necessary exercise. Now, I feel like I'm going to ask one more thing just to clarify here. So because there's been 7, are all of them just individually stopping things and or creating consequences so things get either covered up or stopped? Or are some of those actually legit that they're telling us about? The plane crashes. So there's been 7, and you can go looking in mainstream media. There's been 7 in 10 days. Okay, so you'll be able to find those, do a little digging. But let's have a look at, are all of them PSYOP White Hat ops that have been reported, or are some of those actually legit? Let's have a look, because it looks like each one has a different purpose. Like as I've been looking at them, they don't look across the board they're outing something. They look like they're utilizing the situation to either take out dark hat ops and or prevent things from happening. That's what it looks like. Okay, so that means each one, if all of these are part in on it, it feels like each one of them would be for a different purpose. And, that's it. That would be interesting. So that's keeping everybody safe, that card, and the death card. So maybe taking something from one thing to another, totally changing the outcome of it, because this transforms something. Okay, and now we've got the star. So it looks like they're using technology that's beyond our knowing. So how they even did the visuals of that plane flipping over, or like the technology they're using, maybe even to fly these things, because I feel like that plane actually was flown empty and then flipped over, okay, for the dramatic effects. Okay, so here we've got the 2. So it's not all of them. I feel like there's been at least 2 other ones that were stopping situations, but a majority of those other ones we were talking about here. So that sounds like, so if there was 7, and it looks like the Ontario one was definitely a PSYOP type situation according to the cards. Now add 2 more that were PSYOPs. That's 3 out of 7. The other ones look like they might have been naturally occurring. This is a Mother Earth card, so we could be talking. So this card says just working in their daily working, and it has something to do with maybe maintenance and how they run things in the industry. So that's just, actually, if you look around, you'll probably see naturally over the years, there's a lot of plane incidents. We just don't hear about them all. Okay. And now that a couple of them have been really big in the news, I feel like news people just could be jumping all over everything that happens. So there's that. So it's like these interesting sideline things. So there's definitely some that are actually legit. I don't think the one in Ontario was, according to the cards. And I already looked at those other 2 that happened in the US leading up to this, and both of those looked manipulated. Wow. Okay. That is wild. That, things are just not what they seem, hey? Now, I got a good follow-up question on the CRA/IRS and agencies all over the world, so I'm going to include that. That are like that. So wherever you live, you're tax collecting. So the yearly big sort of tax collection that happens, that's been, I'm pretty sure every country in the world has it by now, but likely it's all deep state collecting that money, by the way. None of it's going into your country. We figured that out. Okay, so that's just the biggest scam going here to humanity. What somebody asked, and I thought it was a great question. How much power do they have? Can they still, even if it's in the movie, so even if they're playing out a movie about it, trying to out these guys, how much power do they still have to shut down your bank account? Because if you think about it, that's illegal. So if somebody is trying to do that, or one of these agencies are, and I don't give financial advice, but I'm just going to say, get a lawyer. Okay, because that's illegal. When you think about it, they can't go, they haven't proven you did anything yet. Okay, and if there isn't even a law that people have been looking for a law that says you actually have to pay income tax for a really long time, and they haven't found that law, at least not here in North America. Okay, so that could open a big can of worms if more people said, no, I'm getting a lawyer. Get yourself a tax lawyer so they don't get to just go in. If they do that and close down your account, yeah, get yourself a tax lawyer. But again, I'm a tarot card reader and not a financial advisor. Okay, so just remembering that, not giving financial advice, I'm just giving my personal opinion right now. Okay, but let's look at what the cards say about their ability here to go into your bank accounts and or garnish your wages. Are they still doing that, or are they just threatening to do that? Because we know there's threatening letters going out. People have sent me their threatening letters they've been getting, but that could be all AI. Okay, a lot of these agencies are run by AI, we're discovering. They're not even humans behind those letters. Okay, not to say in the past they were using AI and they were actually collecting the money, but mostly they're just fear tactics, right? But let's have a look at, because there is a lot of people that have been affected by this. I even know some, right? I know a personal friend years ago, single mom, who was totally hounded by some scumbag from CRA, and she couldn't afford a lawyer, didn't think to get one, but she couldn't have afforded one anyway. And they totally raked her through the coals, stopped her bank account, all that kind of stuff. So we want to know, do they still have that ability? And if they do, for how long? Right? Because that's, scary. Let's have a look. So we've got a soft yes, and then a yes over here. So some places are still, or some places are going to play out that they still have it, and some places are going to be, so some places they've taken that ability. It feels like that's a play, that's going to be depending on where you live. Okay, a lot of what they're doing, though, is false, okay, because a lot of this has been changed in the background. In other words, these guys their teeth have been taken off. Like I said, when I was looking at it on Monday, a lot of their teeth are gone. Like we had the Seven of Swords. Seven of Swords it's more of an illusion at this point. It's more of a strategy. So they're using a strategy, okay, and they're strategically sending out letters and doing the things, or keeping some of the things going. This feels like with that Magician in the middle. So I feel like they have very little ability, but some places will have more than others. So some places are still going to play it out that they can do that, and they might even be able to do it. Okay, but it's getting less and less. And the Magician in the middle, a lot of it is fake, and they're not going to. Okay, so here we've got the 10. Now here's the near future, which looks like they get shut down altogether. Okay, and that's within 10, so the 10 of Cups. So we could even be talking by October. And now we're talking about the whole world. So maybe place by place, it'll depend. But by October, I think across the board, they could be shut down, all of these guys. But we could also be talking about 10 weeks, months with that card, or the 10th month. Okay, so 10, not years, though. It's not a major arcana card. It's a minor arcana. But cups can be weeks and months. Okay, but they could also talk about the 10th month of how we do the calendar now, which is October. Okay, so yeah. So as Trump and Elon, I've come to realize this card's probably the guy playing Elon, the brand. Okay, as they go forward, this gets shut down, and it across the world by October, it looks like. That won't be the case. So play it out. If you are getting threatening letters, maybe politely write back and ask them to explain themselves, and maybe tell them, look, you heard that they weren't real, so maybe they could prove to you that they were real, but be polite about it. See what happens. There's a lot of great advice out there on how to deal with these guys, by the way. Okay, so take somebody's good advice who's done it and or knows their way around these things in your community. Go looking for what other people are doing online. Okay, and don't take my advice for financial doing things financially because, like I said, I'm a card reader. I'm just reading the cards, but that is interesting what we got there. When it comes to like card readers can't be held accountable for financial advice. Okay. I, I'm just saying. Okay. Now I follow my own cards on those kind of things, and I follow the advice, but I take responsibility. You know, because it's me, right? Everyone's got to take responsibility for individual actions, and that's why I have to say that along with it, right? Okay, because we're in scary times right now. The whole officialdom is falling apart, and people are going to be angry and mad and looking for somebody to blame for their hurt and hardship. Okay, yeah, so we've got to all be careful and tread carefully. Okay, so what else do we have here? Insects in food. So the UK, so a lot of people in the UK are saying that, and this is happening other places too, but in particular, I seem to be getting most of this from the UK audience, okay? They're saying that and all over Europe, frankly, that there's a lot of talk about this milled, so ground insects in all kinds of food. And I feel like it's been happening for a long time. They've probably beefed up things with this. Okay, so cheap way to beef up something. Okay, just like the whole blood industry where they were using different kinds of blood they got from the slaughterhouse and added it to steak to make it look beefier, juicier, added it to your shrimp to make the shrimp look bigger when they weren't. Like they faked you out with like blood content that could have been from all kinds of animals and or even humans that we didn't know about. Okay, but now they're doing this thing with insects. So they're outing that there's been insects in food. But they're also, it seems like a psyop to me, they're also saying that 4%, so if there's up to 4% in food, they don't have to, by law, tell you that there's insects in the food. So a lot of people are up in arms about that because they could be eating insects unbeknownst to them in their crackers or the food they're eating. Okay, so here's what we got to know here. Is there really still insects in food? Is this ramping up? Is this getting bigger? So in the near future, we'll have a look. Is this getting to be worse of a problem? And or is this all a big psyop, getting you to wake up to what goes into your food and get everybody looking at it? Because a lot of people don't even look at the ingredients in their food. Okay, so let's have a look. Could this be a wake-up call for humanity, or is this actually a problem and you need to be really weary of? Okay, let's have a look. There's a safety card, interesting, and the 5 of Cups. So it has been happening. So they have been wanting to out that this has been happening for a really long time. There's a big success recently here. So the 6 of Wands, so I feel like they've had big successes in taking this out of the food chain. Okay, that's good to know. They haven't taken it all out, though. There's still going to be incidences. Okay, I feel like this is not necessarily a wake-up call. I feel like it's more real reporting that this has been happening. They've been cleaning it out, it looks like, but it's real reporting. So they're not lying to you about this. There really has been insects in food. Okay, but I feel like they've been working on getting it out of the food chain. Okay, so what you need to do, we got the 3 of Swords. Certainly if something's past 3 years old, you're more likely, it looks like, to have that issue. Okay, so 3 years ago, maybe they weren't taking it out of food processing, but I feel like they've been cleaning up a lot of the processing. So if you have an item on your shelf, and people do keep things around for 3 and 4 years if it's a dried goods, right? If you have an item on your shelf, look up, because it's everywhere. It's shown everywhere. I can't remember what the words, they have some words they'll put on the labeling, okay, that will indicate they're using a particular word or a couple of words. So find out what those are. It's all over Telegram and stuff. They've been talking about this, so you'll find out. Some YouTuber will be talking about it, where they'll tell you what words to look for on the labeling, and especially if they're 3 years old or older, whatever that item is. Okay, so yeah, this isn't, I think, really a real thing, and it's just being cleaned up, so people are talking about it, and it's important. It's not that isn't a psyop. That looks like it's been going on for years. Okay, let's see. UK energy costs. Okay, so UK, a lot of people from the UK are saying they're paying the most for heating their homes, and electric and heating their homes and that sort of thing. So getting energy to their home. They're just being pillaged over there. And in this whole awakening situation, every country seems to have its area where it's really waking people up to certain things. For Canadians, there's several things, WEF, politicians, pedophilia, everything to do with the border, and the U.S. shares that one as well, and things to do with just the horrific things that governments get away with, and also taking away all our rights. That's what we're really highlighting it. But the UK seems to be highlighting, amongst various other things, energy costs and just how you're pillaged on that. Okay, so and for a while there, it was Germany and different parts of Europe that were really getting, and they're probably still being gouged there. But I remember hearing about 3 years ago in particular, Germany was really in trouble that way, and maybe even still is, but maybe people just stopped talking about it. So let me know if you're from there, what your energy costs look like, and have they tripled like here in the UK? Apparently, some people have even said they've tripled since the start of the pandemic. So let's have a look at what the heck, how long do they have to put up with this? Interesting. There's a Trump card. And interesting. This can be deep fake. This can be film footage. This can be like all kinds of things going on. Death card here. I don't know death of what. We'll see what's underneath. So the Two of Cups. So it feels like, so as I've said many times, and this is interesting that it's coming up again. So this is good because we're getting 2-for-1 reading on this one. This is saying that the UK is actually being run by White Hat Alliance. See, that's deals have been made, and so this is something that but it's been kept hidden. I feel like that's because that's secondary. I don't think it means death really. And we're not asking about a person, we're asking about a situation. So this is a situational way to read the card now, but things have been hidden here. Okay, and there's actually a whole new system of what you call energy, and it feels more advanced. So a lot of people have been talking about this. There's a more advanced system that's coming, and I feel like it's already it's already being put in place in the background, and there's been agreements. And already the government's capitulated there, and actually White Hat Trump team has their people there already in the background looking after things like that. So something's already, so it's not being put out yet. They're going to I feel like for the rest of the winter, you guys are probably going to have to suffer through those high costs. Cedric, sorry. Just wait till he settles down a bit here. Yeah, you're going to have to settle through the high costs. We've got the 4, or you're going to have to get through it here. It feels like you got another at least 5 weeks, possibly months. Okay, before those costs come way down. But it will, the truth will come out, but I feel like this is all going to be done in the plan, as it's like you're getting all of these, how do I want to say it? Like they have all of these things they got to do first. So things have to go according to operations. So there's all of these military operations. They're not quite ready to let everybody in on that one yet. That whole free energy and or at least way more efficient energy. I'm not sure if it'll be entirely, I don't know if it'll be free energy, but it'll be a lot better energy source and it's more advanced. That's coming and it's already been put in place in the background. They're just not ready to roll it out yet, based in a whole bunch of stuff they want to do first. Okay, wow. Interesting. So what else do we have? Okay, the near death. So Juan O'Savin's been talking about this. He's still saying and has said, maintained for years, that there's going to be this near death experience for humanity. And some people think it already happened, but I don't get anything felt like near death to me has happened for all of humanity. I don't even think we're close to anything like that had happened in the last, even the pandemic, like it felt really awakening, okay, and shocking, but it didn't feel like a near-death experience. Now, not to me anyway. So let's have a look at the near-death, the idea that, is that still coming? Do we still have to live through a near-death experience? All of humanity. So he always mentions that it'll happen for all of humanity, not just the States, not just Canada, not just North America, all of like everywhere, all over the world. So we've got Trump in the white hat and a big yes. Wow. Okay, so there's the movie card. As the movie plays out, the theater plays out. Again, doesn't mean you just sit on your laurels and eat popcorn. We all need to do our part, whatever that is. Waking people up, sharing information. Some people don't feel obliged to wake people up. Some people are sick of waking people up. I get it. Yeah, but everybody's part, digital soldiering, sharing information, even with your favorite truther, sending them information. A lot of my best things to look at and ideas come from you guys. Okay, I'm not out there as savvy looking online for cool stories that are happening all over the world. You guys are feeding them to me and I'm so appreciative. Okay, and I'm just using my tools and ability and platform to look at those things. But I couldn't do it. I couldn't even do it without you guys, not even close. Okay, so we're working together. We're a team. Okay, so we're a team working together, like all of us as truthers, we're all working together. And I feel like, there's definitely things to do, even though it is like a big theater, especially politically. Doesn't mean you just don't call it out, though. You need to call it out so people can notice it, the ones that aren't. But anyway, so there's still something coming here, it looks like. And this is like a February, could even still happen in February. So even, or within 6 weeks with that card. Okay, and this is interesting here. It'll really expose a lot of dysfunction, whatever it is. It'll really expose dysfunction. This card's, and it'll be scary because there's a lot of fear that comes along with this card, whatever it is. So there's still something that'll be, you could call a near death. And then I asked, what do we get? Like 2 more for what do we get to know about it? The Fool, so we don't really get to. They're not ready. Even the universe isn't ready to tell us because it wouldn't be a near-death experience if you knew it was coming. Even us truthers can't know. Okay, so something is definitely coming and it feels like it really, really helps explain everything that's been going on. Sort of what happens after will help explain what's been going on. It really helps people see the big picture, whatever it is, the outcome is, they see the big picture a lot clearer. So that still feels like it's in the works. Now, my final question I'm going to ask is about the royals again. I've been noticing that there's been a lot more, at least I've noticed a lot more activity with the royals, right? Where you're seeing all kinds of stuff about them again. And it's just like, I'm real sick of it. It's either, are they ramping up to expose these guys? Like, look at this picture that was painted of Charlie Pants there. Okay, like when are they going to expose these reptilians? This family is in particular, the British royals. Like now they've been recirculating. By the way, that picture is from probably 2020. That picture's from 2020. You guys remember that? That might have been one of the last years we actually saw who is supposedly Kate Middleton. Okay, I don't know if she'd been swapped out years ago, but that was actually one of the original Kate Middletons, or in fact the original Kate Middleton. Okay, and we haven't really seen the real Kate Middleton for years, maybe even since this picture, actually, right? So that's interesting that they showed that picture and then they talk about something current. Like, why are they showing really old pictures? Because the recent one doesn't look anything like her, frankly. And then it felt like they couldn't find a real replacement for Kate Middleton that was believable, or maybe too many people were complaining about the doubles that just didn't look like her. So they just took her out of circulation for about a year there since last Christmas. And now they recirculated her again, like maybe they found a good double again. Like, I feel like that's what they're doing. Okay. But my question is, like, we just saw Harry hanging out with Trudeau in Canada, in Vancouver on the weekend. Now take a look at Trudeau's profile. Doesn't look a thing like the original Trudeau, by the way. Okay. And both of these guys don't look anything like. Straight on, Harry looked pretty believable, but side view doesn't look anything like his face. Okay, so we don't have their original guys here. Yeah, Trudeau doesn't, that is not Trudeau. Who is that guy, right? So I'm wondering, when are the royals going to be finally, now the British royals? Oh, by the way, have a look at this picture. Show the other one again, Coco, of the same scene where there's those two people in the front. This one looks like, and pay attention, look at the two people in the front. Their heads are too small. Their whole bodies they were cut out and placed in front of these two, but these two are way bigger than them, even though they're behind them, supposedly in the picture. Okay, so these guys are in front. So when they did the cutting and pasting of the fake, it's a fake situation. They cut and pasted these people and they put them in front of them, and they're too small to be in front of those two. Okay, it makes no sense size-wise. So they did a bad job of it, maybe on purpose, to show you this is fake. Okay, they faked this. Okay, this feels like they weren't even there. They weren't even anywhere near there. That was all fake. Okay, and if people did see them, they might have been holograms of them. Okay, another thing I noticed was the pictures around this. Okay, nobody's really looking at them like, wow, Trudeau, and like nobody's fawning over them or looking at them. They're just sitting there as if they could just sit there without their bodyguards and stuff like that. Like, it's so fake, I can't even. Okay, so anyway, let's have a look at, when are the British royals going to be outed as the reptilians that they are? Because I'm real sick of seeing stories about them. It's just getting depressing. You know what I mean? I knew they were fake. I started reading about them, 5 years ago or 6 years ago. And I first started thinking they were real. I didn't know they were fake. And then the cards taught me they were totally fake. Everything about them and all the stories of their marriages and all those, it's all fake. Yeah, nothing about it's real. Harry and Meghan that marriage was all a comm. That was actually Q. They were already actors and they were working already for Q. Now, whether I still haven't figured out exactly, was Meghan read in right from the beginning, but at some point they both capitulated, and I think Harry did before Meghan, and they used them to do walks of shame and also to out royals on things. Okay, so think about it. What did Meghan out the royals on? That royals all do fake pregnancies. Okay, because her pregnancy belly fell down in public at least twice. Okay, and there's huge footage about it. Okay, and also they outed with all the stories about the dolls she carried around pretending they were. So none of her kids were real. They were dolls. And there's really lifelike dolls. Okay, and then they started using actors. But the infants were not real. Then we started looking at pictures of Kate. Coco, if you have that one of Kate, side by side with the horrifying one, that one. Okay, so the horror movie, okay, where this woman I can't remember what the movie was called, but she actually births a demon. Okay, so then we got Kate wearing that. By the way, if you look at Kate's face, that's not Kate, by the way. That's so they were already using doubles back then. And look at the baby really close. We now know what those babies looked like, the fake dolls, because of Megan. All of these stories about Megan, and they were looking at her with a real up close look. And we outed Megan nonstop for carrying around fake babies, okay, dolls. That's one of them. Now we know what those dolls look like. That's exactly what they look like. So she's not carrying a real baby. So whenever she came out on those steps, moments after she gave birth, as if you do that as a woman or be expected to do that. But anyway, so she trod herself out there. First of all, she was likely born a male, by the way, and trans like from birth or from really young age, unfortunately. Okay, she might not have even known about it because I deep dived on her for years. I'm talking about Kate Middleton here, by the way. She might not have even known about it till she was about 17. Okay. And there's even pictures of her at about 17, 18, 19, where she's wearing this dress that's see-through that you clearly see she has a male's torso. And her belly button's up way too high. And, just like the Victoria's Secret models, they all have that male looking where the belly button's too high for a female. And they got those, I forget what it's called, but where the legs come in, it's not like a woman. A woman's belly does a swoop like that. Even if it's a flat belly, it's still the lines go like a nice curve under her belly button. Whereas the males, they have that line. I forget what it's called, but you guys will tell me in the comments, right? And then sort of comes down into, their penis area and whatever. But you can clearly see in pictures of Kate when she was young, and you actually get to see her whole, like in this one picture where she's wearing a see-through dress at this fashion show when she was a teen. She has a male torso body. Yeah, it's fascinating. Anyway, there's a lot more proof that she's a male too. Like nobody ever shows her feet close up because she wears an about 11 foot. Also, her arms are way too long. So it's not just one thing, it's several things. Her shoulders are straight across, but she always wears long hair so you don't see it. Right. And also her jawline comes in more like a male jawline, but they soften it up with makeup and everything. Yeah, they got ways they cover it up, but she's yeah, there it is. There it is. That's a guy's body right there. Yeah. Thank you, Coco. You're so awesome. Yeah. And her arms are too long. Okay. And her shoulders come straight out, and they would have changed, like created it so she didn't have the Adam's apple, because they do all of these things. Okay, but here's a recent, on the other side there, we've got this recent Kate, not even close to the real one. But anyway, it's all crazy. So we're looking at, when do we finally get these guys outed? Because I'm just done. I'm just done looking at them trotting around, and all people are still fawning over them. It's like, come on, it's got to be difficult for you awake UKers to put up with. Okay, so here we've got the 10. And justice. Okay, so that's interesting, because that's telling me that a lot of the family has a large amount of these royals, maybe all of them even, have already been brought to justice. So that's interesting. None of them, and I've been saying this for years, are real. By the way, they're all just doubles is what I mean by that. And the real ones were all gathered up some years ago, probably 2017. So fascinating. And Trump and the White Hats did this when they took over the scene. Okay. Around 2017, we saw that movie where Trump went around to all of these people, including the royals. Right about then, the real ones started disappearing, and they put in doubles. Okay. So we've got the justice card here. So they were already called to justice. Okay. And they're still doing fakery around them. Yes, we noticed, and we're getting sick of it, guys. White hats, pay attention. We're not happy with this. Okay, the chariot. So that tells me that they do have some things they got to do, and they have very specific ways they're going to out these guys as deep state and or Khazarian mafia members of, maybe even reptilian members. Okay, because they've got a way they want to be shocking about it. And it might even come along the same time as the gut punch or that world event, that sort of near-death experience. Who knows? Maybe it'll be around the same time. But we've got 3 major arcana, so in the next year, I don't think it'll be sooner than that. And even there's a 7 on the outcome here, which could mean July. Okay, so sometime in the next year, and I'm thinking maybe July, there could be a shocking, where you shockingly find out who these people really are. And let me tell you, I'll be looking forward to that.
Lúc này Chí Duy lại gọi đến, nhưng cậu ấn tắt máy vì không biết sẽ nói gì nữa. Lại chạy đi về chỗ ban đầu nhưng người vào vẫn không thấy. Anh đưa tay ôm đầu ngồi xuống đám lá khô làm nhạt. Tại sao tự dưng mình lại nghĩ ra trò đưa cô ta đi chơi chứ? Anh ngẩng mặt lên nhìn từng đoàn khách đi lại mà vẫn không thấy. Chợt nhớ sáng ăn cơm thầy tôi có kể, cô ấy như vậy nhưng định hướng cực kém. Đi đâu mà lạc thì chỉ có người tìm ra, chứ không bao giờ tìm được đường về. Hồi nhỏ bà nội tôi đi chơi ở công viên giải trí đã làm lạc cô ấy. Vì hàng ngày cô ấy nghịch nên ở nhà mọi người cứ hay nói nếu trốn đi chơi sẽ bị bắt cóc. Có lẽ vì thế mà khi bị lạc, cô ấy đã trốn vào một chỗ để không bị bắt cóc. Ông nội huy động toàn bộ nhân viên và người nhà đi tìm. Sau 2 ngày thì lôi được cô ấy ra từ một khu nhà chờ nhưng đã ngất xỉu. Cũng phải nằm viện mất mấy ngày mới tỉnh. Từ đó mỗi lần đi chơi, ông nội lại giao cho một người có nhiệm vụ canh chừng. Ngày hôm ấy, ai nhận được nhiệm vụ đúng là gặp Hạ. Cao Phong bắt đầu thấy sợ hơn, mồ hôi túa ra như vậy. Ở đây rộng thế này, không biết cô ấy trốn ở đâu nữa. Anh lại chạy đi tìm, vừa tìm vừa nói như mộng du. Cô đang ở đâu? Ra đây ngay. Tôi mà tóm được thì cô chết với tôi. Chỉ cần cô xuất hiện, tôi hứa sẽ trả ảnh, hứa sẽ không làm cô giận nữa. Lòng kiên nhẫn bắt đầu đang thách thức anh. Càng lúc anh càng thấy sợ và chân thì đã mỏi người. Dị An tức giận lao đi, nhưng vẫn nghĩ rằng Cao Phong sẽ đi ngay sau, vì chân anh dài nên đi rất nhanh. Đi một lúc không nghe thấy tiếng bước phía sau, nên cô quay lại nhưng không thấy anh đâu. Cô giật mình nói xung quanh hét lên. Cao Phong, cậu là đồ chết tiệt, sao lại không đi sau tôi thế?
Đưa bà quay. Đâu, nhảy đâu đó
tìm nữa, mà quyết định sẽ đi khám phá một mình. Đi ra ngoài mà không tìm được đường thì cô sẽ theo một đoàn khách nào đấy đi ra. Ngày nhỏ vì bị mọi người dọa nên cô muốn trốn. Nhiều lúc nghĩ lại thấy người lớn đôi khi vô tình thật độc ác, vì những lời dọa dẫm như thế, còn cô tí thì chết hụt. Nghĩ vậy nên cô tiếp tục đi. Ở đây thật rộng nhưng cũng thật đẹp. Cô bước đến nơi mọi người đang thi nhau chụp ảnh. Cô cũng lấy máy ảnh ra chụp vài cái để gửi về cho xong nghi. Có người còn đến nhờ cô chụp ảnh hộ. Đang ngắm hồ nước xanh mướt, mặt nước trải lá vàng của cây ngân hạnh, thì thấy một đoàn tham quan người Pháp. Cô hướng dẫn viên người Trung Quốc nói tiếng Pháp rất hay, nên cô tò mò lại gần, chen vào giữa đám người cao lớn ấy. Trong khi nghe hướng dẫn viên giới thiệu về nơi đây, bất giác cô cứ đi theo họ hết điểm này rồi điểm khác, mà không nhớ ra người đi cùng với mình. Cao Phong kiên nhẫn, bình tĩnh ghi lại các điểm đã đi qua. Anh bắt đầu khó chịu hơn, lại thấy lòng bất an nghĩ, hay là cô ta lại chui vào góc nào một khắp rồi. Anh lại bắt đầu đi hỏi khách du lịch bằng chia ảnh ra, nhưng họ đều bắt đầu không thấy. Bước những bước đi nặng trĩu, Anh ngồi xuống ghế gỗ người ta đặt để nghỉ chân, rồi bắt đầu suy luận xem cô ta có thể đi đâu. Chưa bao giờ anh lại thấy tức giận thế này. Nghỉ một lát, anh lại vừa đi vừa hỏi, nhưng vẫn là những cái lắc đầu không biết. Cơn giận bốc hỏa lên đầu. Anh nào bảo nhất định sau khi tìm được cô, tôi sẽ mắng một trận cho hả dạ. Bây giờ mình đã hiểu vì sao lúc sáng thầy cô lo cho cô ta như thế. Tôi xin cô đấy, ở đâu thì bước ra đi. Bất lực nên anh định sẽ không tìm nữa, mà ra cổng đợi đến khi chơi chán thì cô ta sẽ ra. Nghĩ vậy anh quay người lại bước đi, thì đập vào mắt anh là cô ta đang đứng nói chuyện vui vẻ với một chàng thanh niên người Pháp. Cơn giận bừng bừng làm mặt đỏ au. Vừa đi Cao Phong vừa nghĩ làm sao để cho cô ta khóc anh mới hả dạ. Di An đang cười liền tắt lịm. Cô thấy Cao Phong mặt bừng bừng sát khí đang tiến về phía mình. Chẳng phải anh ta đã bỏ cô để đi một mình sao? Di An chưa kịp chào tạm biệt người bạn thì Cao Phong đến kéo tay cô đi. Cô hất mạnh tay anh ta, xoa cổ tay đã đỏ ửng. Cậu làm gì vậy? Gãy tay tôi rồi. Cô quay lại chỗ người bạn lúc nãy, chào anh chàng người Pháp và mời anh ta đến thời gian chơi. Cao Phong tức lắm, nhưng đành phải đợi. Anh cố giữ bình tĩnh vì không muốn cãi nhau, nhưng thật sự cô ta rất quái đáng. Thì cô cậu tức giận với ai chứ? Chính cậu đã chụp ảnh tôi mà không xin phép, còn gọi tôi đi một mình. Bây giờ lại ở đây làm mặt khó với ai vậy? Cao Phong nói gần như quát lên. Tôi bỏ cô đi một mình, hay cô trốn tôi đi hả? Di An giật mình đứng lùi lại và tự hỏi, sao cậu ta lại tức giận như thế? Mình đã làm sai gì à? Nhưng nhanh chóng hít thở sâu hỏi, rõ ràng là cậu bỏ tôi một mình. Tôi đi trước thì cậu phải đuổi theo chứ. Cái chân cậu dài như kia để làm gì? Cao Phong thấy hình như giữa hai người không có hiểu lầm nên quay người lại, nhắc mình cố giữ bình tĩnh. Không nhỡ cô ta lại trốn tiếp thì anh khổ. Được rồi, tôi có biết tôi đã đi tìm cô 2 giờ đồng hồ rồi không? Cô nhìn tôi đây, thời tiết thế này mà áo tôi ướt đẫm, cô không thấy sao mà còn ở đấy cao giọng hả? Nghe cậu ta nói xong, cô mới nhìn trên người Cao Phong. Mồ hôi làm ướt sũng áo, trán cũng mồ hôi, còn đầu tóc như vừa đi đánh trận về. Mình thì đi thăm thú không nhớ đến sự có mặt của cậu ta, còn để người ta đi tìm mình trông thảm thế kia. Biết mình đã sai, Di An mỉm cười nhẹ giọng. Xin lỗi cậu, tưởng cậu thấy tôi phiền phức nên mới đi theo đoàn khách nghe họ giới thiệu về nơi này thôi. Tôi đâu có biết cậu đi tìm tôi chứ. Cao Phong đang rất giận, nhưng nhìn thấy cô cười, lòng anh dịu lại. Thầy tôi đã bảo, cứ thấy cô cười thì tránh đi, không sẽ không giận được. Thầy đã cảnh báo đúng. Cô ta cười, mắt cũng cười, làm cho anh thấy cơn giận như biến đi đâu mất. Anh dịu giọng, cô đã tham quan được hết chưa? Còn sức không tôi dẫn cô đi tiếp. Di An cười nhếch mép. Tôi mới là người nên hỏi cậu còn sức không nữa chứ. Chồng cậu lúc này khác hẳn lúc chúng ta tới đây. Cậu nên vào nhà vệ sinh rửa mặt đi, cậu nhìn rất tệ đấy. Cô lấy trong túi ra một chiếc khăn đưa cho Cao Phong và giục anh ta đi rửa mặt. Trước lúc đi, Cao Phong còn dặn đi dặn lại, bảo cô ngồi ở đây, cấm chạy lung tung. Anh chợt nhớ ra nên lấy điện thoại lưu lại số của cô rồi mới yên tâm đi. Cả phòng đi khuất, Dị An lấy điện thoại ra cắm tai nghe rồi ngồi rượu cốc cây nghe nhạc. Mắt cô cần được nghỉ ngơi một lát nên cô ngồi như đang ngủ. Không khí và tiết trời ở đây thật dễ chịu. Chỉ cần sống như thế này cô đã thấy mãn nguyện lắm rồi. Cao Phong đi ra không thấy cô trên ghế, lại chột dạ chạy đến thì nhìn thấy bóng cô thấp thoáng sau gốc cây. Chị à, tôi lại tưởng cô trốn đâu.